A very warm welcome and thank you for joining us for this lunchtime news broadcast where we catch up on the news making headlines across Namibia and expanding to the rest of the continent as well as the globe. In the news today, B2Gold employees demonstrate against regulations to preserve 75% of their pension savings. House prices in Namibia moderate downwards. 5 killed in Nigerian bar bomb attack. We're also going to take a look at the news headlining today's daily newspapers, bring you sports and economic news, as well as more international news headlines. I am Diana Master and this is NMH at 1. Now in today's midday news update, a national stakeholder workshop is taking place today and tomorrow to discuss the feasibility study for the Feed Africa Agricultural Transformation Program conducted by Vuna Agribusiness and Pinotech Consulting Services for the Agriculture Ministry. It aims to enhance livestock and crop production, processing and marketing to provide a strong foundation for indoctrination in Namibia. And now getting into today's visual news clips. Employees of B2Gold mine near Otjiwarongo held a peaceful demonstration against the new regulations of having to preserve 75% of their pension savings. According to workers' representative Jason Oiseb, they are against the proposed regulations as they are faced by redundancy and retrenchments anytime as mine workers. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are just here to clarify why the people branch of the mine workers union have decided to engage in a peaceful demonstration against the proposed regulation that came about because of the passage of the FEMA Act 2 of 2021. We wanted to put it on the record that we are not against the same act. We are not against FEMA, because FEMA has got good things also in it, that workers being represented on the pension funds. Those are good things, so that our voice is heard. So we are not against the act itself. But what we are against is the regulation. The regulation to say we should mandatorily preserve our funds. That's what we are against. Because you are saying that you want to keep 75% of my money, only give me 25%, and only give me the other one in installments, to say monthly payments, and I reach the age of 55. And us as a workers in the mining industry, that is not tenable at all. It's not tenable at all. People are saying, oh, but then why are you guys, the Namfisa is saying we are giving you 13 days extra. But let's look at the initial stage of the consultations. Our fund is Orion Pensions and Provident Fund. We found out that there were submissions made, but never is the fund engage us as members to solicit our views and our opinions on the thing. Only when we wrote letters to see them, then we got the communication on the 11th of April. And it even starts with an African proverb of, if you eat an egg today, you forego a meal of chicken soup for tomorrow, meaning that in actual fact you are diplomatically endorsing the preservation of my money. Because you are saying, egg is saying, if I get my money today to eat it, tomorrow I will suffer, I'll be a burden. This so-called burden that, in my opinion, is an insult to be called a burden to the state. If you check the tax that we are paying, being called by people that really, some of them get free rights, if I must say, from our tax money, calling us burdens is not a very good word. And the current consultation process, if you check the language around the world, it's as if the preservation is a foregone conclusion. That they want to say. That's a good thing to do. That's the majority of the people that are talking inside. The only thing that people want to debate now, the way we see it, is the ratio of the preservation. Was from the 75-25, are we looking at the 50-50, are we looking at the 60-40, are we looking at the 70-30? That's what the discussion is now. That's why we are saying sitting down and just writing an objection letter or a consultation letter to an officer will not work, it will not suffice. We must stop this thing. And the only way to stop it is by showing that we are against it. Because tomorrow we will be told that there was no demonstration, there was nobody that voiced, it was just somebody on media that is against the government saying A, B, C, and D. But we are saying, let's not join this thing with politics. This is money issues. We are employees that are affected by reorganization, by redundancy and retrenchment anytime.
Viva mio viva! Viva! Viva mio viva! Viva! Viva mio viva! Viva! Madla! Away! Madla! Away! Thank you, company. Injury to one. Injury to one. Thank you.
Now in our next story, SWAPO Party Youth League District Secretary in Oshana Region, Paulus Nyoma, on Sunday urged the youth to remain loyal to the party while speaking at the celebration of SWAPO's 62nd anniversary at Oka Njengedi. My apologies. Amongst others, Nyoma said SWAPO and the government has no place for opportunists and tribalists or ill-disciplined youth or leaders. Tuyemo Haidula was there. Let's take a look.
Our party, including the SWAPO-led government, we have no praise or no opportunist for such a leader of tribalism, indiscipline, or whatever you can name it. However, the political duty of which we are also our political leadership generally contribute, or we want to contribute to our elders. Where we see them doing wrong, we must correct them peacefully, but not to jump into infighting on social media, on calling one another names, on killing one another politically. Some of them they said political assassination, whatever. We don't want that. But we want, or I want, the youth to report such manner to the disciplinary committees of SWAPO, either internationally or nationally. We have also noted that in recent years, individual and organized syndicates within our party, SWAPO party, and under the force of loyalty and doing deeds of our SWAPO party, it is people who have commit act and corruption because of greedy, selfness, and cause our innocent party to a bad name, and has put our party into dispute and reputation.
Now, when we return, we'll be taking a sneak peek inside Namibia's daily print publications. But first, a quick ad break. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. Starting off with the Namibian Sun. The Namibian Sun front page reports that the Business Rescue Task Force has recommended an amendment to the Insolvency Act to help struggling businesses, which can be saved from ultimate demise, while the development of a business rescue fund was also proposed. On its page 3, Namibian Sun reports on the lifeless body of Nelson Gilalulwa Hausiku, which was found hanging from a tree in the bushes of Rundu Saoyenwa near the Kavango River yesterday afternoon, a month after he was reported missing. The body, which had decomposed, was found with a wire around the deceased's neck, who was believed to have committed suicide. However, no suicide note was found at the scene. Moving over to the Republican, it reports that Parliament's Standing Committee on Natural Resources is holding a public debate this morning on the ownership of agricultural land in Namibia owned by foreigners. This follows a complaint on the issue of ownership of agricultural land launched by the Affirmative Repositioning. Still with the Republican, there's a report that the Minister of Information and Communications Technology, Dr. Pea Mushelenga, tabled the ministry's annual budget of 521.8 million Namibian dollars for the 2022-2023 financial year in Parliament. Now moving over to Allgemeine Zeitung, there's a report that African states are scrambling to serve as the last oil for international gas and oil companies, and Namibia is no exception. It reports that the Namibian Energy Conference, which started yesterday, is turning into a farce because there's little to be noticed from different perspectives from the entire energy value chain. Still with Allgemeine Zeitung, the Ministry of Mining and Energy has described the latest drastic increases in fuel prices as one of the biggest challenges. There are, however, signs that fuel prices could fall. Now we're going to take a quick ad break and return with more front page stories. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, the Namibian reports that a University of Namibia lecturer and his family want the health ministry to pay them 18 million Namibian dollars for failing to take steps that could have prevented the death of his wife, who was shot in Windhoek 3 years ago. The Namibian Sun also reports that the Gender Ministry has removed 65 minors from Moria Grace Shelter at Dolam in Windhoek. Moving over to New Era, it is reported that the Anti-Corruption Commission has entered the fray in the Parliament corruption scandal that broke over the weekend. Again, in the New Era, it is reported that Acting Public Enterprises Minister Ipumbu Shimi has debunked rumors of TransNamib's liquidation, maintaining that state-owned railway firm is a crucial entity in the country's logistics hub and will not be liquidated. Now, according to Market Watch, the national weighted average house price ended the year 2021 at 1.18 million Namibian dollars, down from 1.24 million Namibian dollars in 2020. Now, when we return, we get into more economic news, but first, an ad break. Welcome back. Let's take a look at the economic news. The First National Bank Residential Property Price Index posted a 12-month average growth of 7.1% at the end of 2021, from 10.4% at the end of the prior quarter and 4.6% over the same period of 2020. Similarly, the 12-month average growth in respect of the volume index ebbed to 6.6% from 21.7% a year ago. Although the price index growth remains relatively robust by annual comparison, waning transaction volumes are causing the average house prices to dip. As such, the national weighted average house price ended the year at 1,181,225,000 Namibian dollars, down from 1,240,943,000 Namibian dollars in 2020. The recent strength in the housing index growth, which was short-lived, is associated with the aggressive interest rate cuts that started in the early 2020 at the start of the COVID-19 crisis. The cumulative reduction in interest rates stimulated a strong surge in home buying, says Frans Usiku, FNB Namibia Market Research Manager. In effect, the FNB Residential Rental Index for the fourth quarter of 2021 posted a smaller contraction of 0.7%, highlighting a significant improvement when compared to a contraction of 2.1% recorded a year earlier. However, the observed volatility in the overall housing index also appears to be the highlight the high sensitivity of the Namibian residential property market to interest rates adjustments. In our next story, Energy Minister Tom Alwendo has expressed concern at the increasing trend of Namibians flocking into southern Angola to buy fuel, saying it has an adverse impact on the economy. He made the remarks following reports of Namibians crossing into Angola to illegally buy fuel in the face of increasing fuel prices globally. Angola, a net fuel exporter, subsidizes costs for its citizens, thereby making it cheaper for them to buy fuel. According to Alwendo, one of the biggest challenges faced by everyone in the energy sector is the recent drastic increase in fuel prices occasioned by the recent geopolitics in Eastern Europe. The loss of revenue from local fuel sales means infrastructure projects will not be maintained or built, he said. Alwendo further dismissed the notion that Angolan authorities would sell oil and gas products to Namibia cheaper, given recent calls for government to procure from that country. We're now going to take a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar continues to soar against these major currencies, now trading $14.94 for $1. Capricorn Investment Group and First Rand Namibia Limited stock prices are up on the NSX, with the latter increasing by 1.80%. Local index is up by 0.46%, while overall index has increased by 0.88% on the NSX. Copper has gone down by 0.1%, while these other commodities have increased in price. Now, at least 5 people have been killed and 19 others seriously injured in a blast in Taraba State in northeast Nigeria. After the break, we bring you the full story. Stay tuned.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and #paybackthemoney.
You're still watching NMH at 1. Let's take a look at the latest news in our neighboring countries and then later on extend to the rest of the globe. In our first story, at least 5 people have been killed and 19 others seriously injured in a blast in Taraba State in northeast Nigeria. The explosion on Tuesday evening occurred at a bar in Iware, a busy commercial center near the state capital, Jalingo. Police spokesperson Abdullahi Usman said one suspected attacker had died, but it wasn't clear whether he was a suicide suicide bomber. Eyewitnesses said the explosive was inside a bag that was hidden at the bomb. In 2012, 3 suicide bombers on motorcycles rammed the convoy of a local police chief. At least 11 people, including the attackers, died in the blast, which is blamed on Islamist militant group Boko Haram. In our next story, the inaugural trial of a court established to prosecute war crimes in Central African Republic's drawn-out conflict was postponed on its first day on Tuesday when lawyers for defendants boycotted proceedings. The trial is related to the massacre of 46 civilians in the northern villages of Konjili and Lamuna in May 2019. Killings prosecutors say were carried out by the 3R rebel group. 3 members of the group have been charged with war crimes and crimes against humanity. The defendants' lawyers failed to show yesterday the exact reason for which was unclear. Joseph Bindumi, president of the Central African League for Human Rights, told Reuters it was over a dispute about the treatment of the defendants. The trial will resume on April 25. The case is being heard in the Special Criminal Court, which was set up in 2015 to try crimes committed in wartime. It is seen as a milestone for Central African Republic, where a decade-long conflict between government forces and rebels has forced more than 1 million people to flee. Mass atrocities have led to interventions from United Nations peacekeepers and troops from Russia, France and Rwanda. Rights groups say crimes against civilians are common, often undocumented and carried out with impunity. Now moving over to Zimbabwe, Zimbabweans across the world have celebrated their Independence Day on the 18th of April with a call to for Africa to rise and demand an end to worsen economic sanctions hurting the majority of the poor in the former British colony. According to Zimbabwe's ambassador to Malawi, Nancy Saungweme, the sanctions are illegal and must be removed. Zimbabwe marked its 42nd independence anniversary on Monday, with President Emmerson Mnangagwa presiding over the national celebrations in the second largest city of Bulawayo. This is the first time in the history of the country that such celebrations have been held outside the capital, Harare. In 2002 and 2003, the United Nations imposed targeted measures on the government of Zimbabwe, including financial and visa sanctions against selected individuals, a ban on transfers of defense items and services, as well as a suspension of non-humanitarian government-to-government assistance. Now, 6 Rohingya refugees from Myanmar, including 2 children, have died after being hit by vehicles on a Malaysian highway. More on this after the break as we move on over to international news. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. Now let's take a look at the international news. 6 Rohingya refugees from Myanmar, including 2 children, have died after being hit by vehicles on a Malaysian highway as hundreds fled an immigration detention center where a riot broke out early on today, officials said. A total of 582 Rohingya escaped the Sungai Bakap temporary immigration detention camp in northern Penang state by breaking down doors and barrier grills. Though 362 have since been re-arrested, the Immigration Department said in a statement. Malaysia, which does not recognize refugee status, has long been a favored destination for ethnic Rohingya fleeing persecution in Myanmar or refugee camps in Bangladesh. Police said they were still investigating the cause of Wednesday's riot, while authorities searched for the remaining detainees who had fled. 2 men, 2 women, a boy and a girl were killed after being hit by vehicles while trying to cross a highway some 8 kilometers away from the detention camp. Kedah State Police Chief Wan Hassan Wan Ahmad told reporters, prior to the riot, the camp held 664 Rohingya refugees, including 137 children. Now, internationally, cases of hepatitis or liver inflammation have been reported in Denmark, Ireland, the Netherlands, Spain, and the US, health officials say. Last week, UK health authorities said they had detected higher than usual cases of the infection among children. The cause of the infections is not yet known. The World Health Organization said less than 5 had been found in Ireland and 3 had been found in Spain. Investigations into the cause of the infections are ongoing in all of the European countries where cases have been reported. In the US, Alabama's Public Health Department said 9 cases have been found in children aged 1 to 6 years old, with 2 needing liver transplants. Investigations into similar cases in other states are taking place, it added. The UK is where the highest number of cases has been reported, with a total of 74 recorded so far. Now, hepatitis is a broad term used to describe inflammation of the liver, usually the result of a viral infection. It can also be caused by exposure to some chemicals, drinking too much alcohol, drugs, and certain genetic disorders. Now, in sports news, Namibia football national team has been drawn in Group C. Stick around to find out who joins them in the group for the AFCON qualifiers. But first, a quick ad break.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in 1 bundle. It's new, it's 1 bill, and you can stay connected in more than 1 location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Welcome back, and now we dive into the sports news, starting off with Namibia football national team that has been drawn in Group C with Cameroon, Kenya and Burundi for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. The 2023 Africa Cup of Nations will be played in Cote d'Ivoire next year. Namibia last competed at the prestigious African Showpiece in 2019, during a time Ricardo Manetti was the coach. It had taken at least 10 years before the country made an appearance at the Showpiece. Cameroon will be favourite to advance top out of Group C, while Namibia, Burundi and Kenya will all fancy their chances of finishing in second place. Namibia's long-distance runner David Dam returned to Namibia yesterday after completing his last training sessions in South Africa. Dam, who competed in several 1,500-meter and 800-meter events in South Africa, which saw him clocking impressive times, will now shift focus to a big continental race in Botswana. His manager, Berthold Karumendu, is confident that it is just a matter of time before Dam becomes stiffer competition to the rest of the world. Now over to rugby. The Namibia Rugby Sevens team will be competing in the Africa Men's Sevens in Kampala, Uganda. The team yesterday officially received its national colours ahead of the tournament in Uganda. The country's first match will be against Ghana on Saturday. After the break, we'll be taking a look at international news, where Kaizer Chiefs currently occupy 4th position in the DStv Premiership standings. We expand more on this and other stories from the international sports scene after the break. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
Welcome back. Now, in our international sports news, we start off in South Africa, where former Kaizer Chiefs defender Themba Seli has advised under pressure Stuart Baxter to forget about past glories. Despite numerous signings during the off-season, the former Bafana Bafana head coach has struggled to end the club's trophy drought. Chiefs currently occupy 4th position in the DStv Premiership standings as hopes of qualifying for the CAF Champions League slowly fade. In international sports news, Liverpool claimed the bragging rights in the Northwest Derby with a 4-0 thumping of Manchester United at Anfield on Tuesday night. United were without Ronaldo after the tragic death of his son. Ralph Rangnick made 4 changes to his team from the lineup that started against Norwich. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Nemanja Matic, Phil Jones and Marcus Rashford all started, while Jadon Sancho, Jesse Lingard and Alex Telles dropped to the bench. Jurgen Klopp made only 2 changes to his Liverpool side from their win over Manchester City in the week. Jordan Henderson got the nod to return in the middle of the park for Naby Keita, while Joel Matip was restored to the back 4 ahead of Musa Konate. South Africa will be looking to end an unwanted 20-year record against Morocco after being drawn alongside the North African Giants in the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. On Tuesday evening, Bafana Bafana learned the identity of their opponents for the 2023 CAF Africa Cup of Nations qualifying campaign after being drawn in Group K against North African giants Morocco, Liberia and neighbors Zimbabwe. We'll now take a quick advertisement and be back with the highlights.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
Welcome back to NMH at 1. Now, if you have just joined us or if you want a quick recap from today's broadcast, here are your news highlights. A national stakeholder workshop is taking place today and tomorrow to discuss the feasibility study for the Feed Africa Agricultural Transformation Program conducted by Vuna Agribusiness and Pinotech Consulting Services for the Agriculture Ministry. At least 5 people have been killed and 19 others seriously injured in a blast in Taraba State in northeast Nigeria. The explosion on Tuesday evening occurred at a bar in Iware, a busy commercial center near the state capital, Jalingo. 6 Rohingya refugees from Myanmar, including 2 children, have died after being hit by vehicles on a Malaysian highway as hundreds fled an immigration detention center where a riot broke out early this morning. Namibia football national team has been drawn in Group C with Cameroon, Kenya and Burundi for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. The 2023 Africa Cup of Nations will be played in Côte d'Ivoire next year. Namibia last competed at the prestigious African Showpiece in 2019, during a time Ricardo Manetti was the coach. The First National Bank Residential Property Price Index posted a 12-month average growth of 7.1% at the end of 2021 from 10.4% at the end of the prior quarter and 4.6% over the same period of 2020. Similarly, the 12-month average growth in respect of the volume index ebbed to 6.6% from 21.7% a year ago. Those have been your highlights, and with that we have come to the end of the show. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Diana Master. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. So for now, stay with us for a compilation of news from across Namibia in our regional review segment. From me and the rest of the team, have a lovely afternoon.
Welcome to today's edition of Regional Review. My name is Doreen Hoff and I'm standing in for Monique Adams. Today we're celebrating World Stationery Day. In our first news segment for today, we visit the community of Koses. Many community members here complain that there's only one place to buy electricity. Sadly, it's quite a distance for many of them to walk. It is situated at the 10-block location in the Mondesa Enterprise, which is run by 37-year-old Malvina Fries. Now we head over to Kois, where a violent fight broke out between two ladies. On Sunday, the 10th of April, the police officers had to come and intervene. Currently, both the ladies are awaiting their first court appearance. Over the Easter weekend, the road safety campaign in conjunction with the locust awareness campaign was officially launched at the B1 Keetmanshoop roadblock. It was launched by the Honourable Governor Anleta Frederick, Deputy ED Mildred Kambindo of the Ministry of Agriculture and Police Commissioner David Indongu. Here's more. For our interview today, we speak to Anna Engela Joseph. She's a 65-year-old community activist from Koses.
downgrade en is nie meer die settlement nie, maar is 'n kommunale area, maar die settlement naam word nog steeds gebruik en ek is ook baie dankbaar vir ons vorige governor wat vir Khosis gekies het vir development, toe die president vir haar gevra het watter klein plekkies in jou streek sal jy as gee as vir ontwikkeling, toe het sy vir Khosis gekies en dit het daar begin en sy het vir ons die bakkery ook kom oopgemaak en hele equipments was daar. Ek was ook een van die vroue wat die brood daar gebak het en ons het elke dag vars brood geëet en daar was baie groot belangstelling tot nou toe, maar omdat ons nie in die werke van die Hemelse Vader kan besluit nie, het die reën die dak van die en die groot wind die dak van die bakkery afgewaai en van daai tyd af staan die bakkery net so en ons begeerte is dat die regering tog en veral die regional council daarna moet kyk en vir ons weer die bakkery oop te maak sodat ons weer vars broodjies kan eet en ons sien ons die kliniek daar is 'n verandering. Ons sê ook vir ons chief Fredericks Johannes Fredericks wat ons nou as 'n AMA chief gekies het dat hy ook sy Khosis belange op sy hart dra en hy het vir hom bewys omdat gesonde mense gesonde development kan maak het hy ons ek in die vorige governor het alreeds met die kliniek begin baklei en ons het baie dieper ingegaan met die kliniek se gesprake en verder het hy nou kom verder gevat en hy het nou so gevorder dat hy die kliniek kom renovate het, soos ons daar sien is daar 'n ander kala van die kliniek binnekant en buitekant is dit baie mooi, alles wat afgebreek was is nou reggemaak en en hy soek nog fondse om verder die kliniek te upgrade sodat hy kan oopgemaak word van ons ry hier vanaf van Khosis af ry ons sekere kilos en ons betaal $300 maar nou wat die petrol gestyg het moet ons nou $400 en hier is nie wers in Khosis nie. Dit is net die skool wat werk het en die koshuis en dan is dit die settlement office wat nou huidige oomblik net nie elke dag oop is nie, maar die dienste van die kliniek te kom wel Khosis toe, maar is net een keer en soms nie en dit is baie belangrik om vir ons 'n kliniek hier te open sodat ons het ou mense, die meerderheid is ou mense van Khosis en werklose jong mense en die jong mense, die vroue kry ook kindertjies en dit is baie moeilik as jy ambulans roep, dan word jy gesê daar is nie vervoer nie of daar is nie 'n drywer nie en al daardie dinge druk vir ons baie en ons is so bly vir die nuwe onze kanselaar Goeieman, hy het ook sy development komitee het hy ook kom saamgestel waar die komitee nou hier en daar rondspring om die plek op bene te bring van ons voel ook dat die plek ook weer moet teruggaan na die settlement toe. Ons kan nie so agteruit gaan nie. Dus hoekom ons baklei dat hierdie plek weer sy status terugkry van die community groei ook beide dag want die vroue kry elke dag of miskien elke jaar kindertjies en so groei en sien die jong mense het nou elke dag gebou hulle.
Looking at the weather for the south, Rehoboth is sunny and warm this week with temperatures hovering at the 29-degree mark. Mariental is slightly warmer with sunny and beautiful conditions prevailing. The same goes for Keetmanshoop, although it will cool by Saturday, and by Sunday a much cooler 21 degrees is forecast. Karasburg is sunny and very warm at the moment, but will cool towards Friday and over the weekend. Dudrits is very hot at 35 degrees today, but will cool somewhat tomorrow and thereafter. By Sunday, lots of wind can be expected.
Thank you, ladies and gents, for tuning in to today's edition of Regional Review.
Please make sure to check out next week's edition when we're in Keetmanshoop again, and hopefully when Monique will be back on her post.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.